Alright, hi guys, how's it going? My name is Blake. I am the LA for this semester of Math Foundations, and for this video I just wanted to make kind of a one-stop shop for all sorts of entry-level LaTeX commands that you might need to know, some errors that you might run into, and just some general advice. Just to let you guys know as a reminder, I do have office hours Monday and Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m., and that's through Teams. If you for some reason aren't in the Teams page, send me a message on Canvas or shoot me an email and I can get that set up for you. So to start off here, I will have timestamps in the video, so you should be able to skip through if there's things that you already know or a particular question that you do have. But I wanted to start off with just some common symbols that you guys are going to need to use throughout this course and in general if you're using LaTeX. So first and foremost, the dollar signs are important. It indicates to LaTeX that you are typing mathy things. So instead of it just saying actually it's probably gonna error for me even, but if I don't have dollar signs, you get these little red X's, which we're gonna talk more about later. But that's not good. If you have a bunch of them, it's not going to work and you might get a big red screen over here. So you're gonna want to put dollar signs around it. And for the first symbol that I was going to talk about, we have the intersection symbol. So if we go to recompile here, you will see you have that symbol and there's no red X's because we have the dollar signs. On a similar note to intersection, we have the union symbol, which instead of being a cap is now going upwards and is shaped like a cup. So when you do /cup, you will see you now have an upwards facing U essentially. And just a side note, if you are recompiling and don't want to click the green button every time, you can do Control-Enter, and that'll do the same command for you, which is what I'm going to be doing probably through most of the video here. On to the next one, we have the subset symbol. So if you have a subset, you're going to want to use \subset EQ. And what the EQ is doing is it's telling it that we want that little line underneath that stands for subset equal, essentially. So that's what's going to give you the ordinary subset symbol for this class. Or if we have a proper subset, it's just going to be /subset. And you can see that gets rid of the line at the bottom. On to the next one, we have just the is an element of symbol, you could call it. So element of is a simple one actually. It just is /in, because if something is an element of a set, then you're going to want to say that X is in the set. So it's easy to remember there, and there is that symbol. We also are able to do, if you want to represent the real numbers or the integers or the natural numbers, I'm just going to do the natural numbers in this case. The proper command is a bit more complicated. It is mathbb, and then inside of curly brackets, you're going to want to put the n for naturals in this case. And as you can see, it gives you the fancy n. Now, it is important to note that in your classes and the documents that Dr. Schnackenberg is going to give you, he does have a preset command where you can just do /n, and it will give you the same symbol. But if for some reason in your own document it isn't working, you're going to want to use the mathbb sign. Similarly, like I mentioned, we can do the reals, which is just going to be /r, or we can do what's the other one that I didn't do? The integers, z. And if I recompile here, you have the r and the z. And again, notice that everywhere that I'm typing words, I'm not putting inside of $2 or a dollar sign. And everywhere that I do not have words and have a symbol, it's inside of dollar signs. That's going to be important to make sure you don't get errors. And if you want to do a complement of a set, so complement. First off, it's important to note that if you just type A, it's going to come up in a slightly different font than if we do $A. If you look here, This one is formatted like you're typing a word starting with the letter A, and this one has a slight slant to it, which shows that it's in math mode and is interpreting it as a mathy A for a set. So to do a complement, you're going to want to do slash overline, and then inside of curly brackets, the letter A in this case. And when we recompile, you are going to have that little complement symbol. Finally, for an equals sign, you are going to just use the normal equal sign that's on your keyboard. This could be in math mode or not, it doesn't matter, but it would be proper to put it inside of them. Or if we want to do not equal, there's a command that's just NEQ, which stands for not equal. And when we recompile, you will see that we have the slash through it. So it is cool to note as well that similarly, let's say you wanted to do the element of symbol, but you wanted to have a slash through it to show that something is not an element. You can do the command slash not in front of it. And then if you remember from above, the element symbol is just slash in. So it becomes slash not slash in. And that's going to give you not an element of. And a few more other things. This is getting a little bit more intricate. We can do Greek letters. And to do so, all it is slash and then spelling out whatever Greek symbol you wanted. So you could do alpha, and there it is over there. Or you could do slash beta, or slash phi, or any Greek letter that you wanted, and they will be there. And if you wanted these to be the uppercase Greek letters, you just make these capital in the front. And they will become, well, for some reason alpha and beta aren't compiling. It looks like I'm missing something in my preamble that'll let me do that. And if errors like this come up, I would typically recommend just Googling and looking up what it is that you need as a package to allow you to put the capital letters in apparently. But that's the gist of it there. And while I'm on the note of packages, I did want to reference up top here. There are a few things that are kind of key important things in the preamble here. One of which will always be there, and it's the document class. There's a couple you can pick from, like article, exam, journal, things like that. Then there is the packages section. So you're just going to do use package and whatever it is that you want to do with these packages. Some of these will let you do symbols like the real numbers and such. Graphic X I'm going to reference in a little bit here. But I mean, I've seen documents that have just all the packages that people have seen in them. It's not proper, but it'll let you do all sorts of things. I did make this document kind of quickly, so that's why I'm missing the capital Greek letters one. And then here are the new command ones that Professor Schnackenberg will have in your document so that you can use /n, /r, etc. And it's formatted basically just like this, where you do /new command and what you want it to be in the first curly brackets, and the second curly brackets is what's actually going on behind the scenes. So it's that math BB stuff that I mentioned before. And then some of this other stuff is just formatting the boxes that I have over here. And then you do begin document and you get into the real woodworks down here. But moving on from Greek letters, just two more things I wanted to mention. The first one is fractions. So the way that fractions work is you do /frac, and it gives you these two curly boxes. The first one's going to be your numerator, and the second one is your denominator. So if we wanted to say x plus 1 over x squared, we could recompile that, and it'll give us x plus 1 over x squared. As you can see, it's a little bit small in this line here. So if we wanted to make that fraction bigger, you can do in front of it /displaystyle. And when we recompile, the fraction will be larger and easier to see. And while we're on the note of fractions, I did want to mention as well, if you try and put parentheses around a fraction, they aren't going to be quite as tall as you want them to be. To fix this, you indicate that this is the left parenthesis going around all this stuff in the middle, and this is the right parenthesis. And what this does is it fits these parentheses to encompass everything inside of the parentheses. So as you can see now, they're much bigger, and that problem is solved. And then finally, if you wanted to do arrows, so like if you wanted to say something implies another thing, you would do /right arrow, and you will have, I forgot to put /par at the end here to break the line. You will have a implies arrow. That being said, that is the capital R that makes it an implied arrow. If you wanted just a regular arrow, you could do the same thing, right arrow, and you'll have a smaller arrow. And the same thing goes if you want it going leftwards, it would just be left arrow. Cap rules apply the same. And there's all sorts of arrows if you Google just LaTeX arrows, and I mean, you'll just find a document with all sorts of them. So that's about the gist of what I wanted to talk about for symbols. Moving on now, I wanted to do a brief tutorial on Enumerate. So if we look over here, I do have the next box here for Enumerate. And the way this is going to work is without $signs, you just want to do /begin, which indicates to Overleaf that we're about to do some sort of a command or function. And we type enumerate. And in Overleaf, it auto-fills your end enumerate, but you always, if you have a begin, you want to have a matching end so that the compiler knows where we're starting and stopping this command. So in this case, I said let's make a list of animal types. So I don't know, we've got cats, we've got dogs, we've got birds. I don't know, the list could go on however long you need it to, but when we compile, we have a numbered list now of, you know, cats, dogs, and birds. And as you can see here, this box breaks on the line here. I don't particularly like the way that looks, so I'm going to go above where the question started, and I'm going to do a command called just /new page. And as you could probably expect, it moves everything from here down to the next page, so it looks nice and broken as it should. Very similar to enumerate, we can also do what's it going to do? Parts. So if we do begin parts, it'll give us an end parts as well. And in each line we wanted to do, we could do part. And again, I don't know, we could do more animals. Fish, tiger, lion. And here we now have a list very similar to above, but we have letters instead of numbers. So if you prefer that, you can use parts instead of enumerate. But a big thing I wanted to point out is there are no backslashes used in the commands here. We don't have to separate these lines with slashes or anything, or par. It just automatically knows when you do another /item or /part that you're on to the next line. So that's about it for enumerate stuff. Next up, I wanted to talk about the align commands. So what align does is it lets you, if you have a bunch of math going on in one section, you can line it up on the equal signs and make it look nice and organized. So we start off very similarly with begin align, and you're going to want to use align star 99% of the time. I'm going to talk about the difference here after this, but start off with begin align, and when you're in these align commands, you don't need to use $signs or anything like that because you've already told the computer that we're working in math mode only in this align section. So in this case, I said let's simplify p to the third minus p. So starting that off, we have p to the third minus p, and ordinarily you'd put an equal sign, and I don't know, you could factor a p out first and have p squared minus 1 inside. And when we recompile here, you will see that, nothing looks too strange yet. And here you do want to use slashes to break your lines. And, moving on from this, you could probably do difference of squares and have p times p plus 1 times p minus 1. And when you recompile, there isn't a lot of centering going on. These equal signs aren't where we want them. So to use a line the way that it's designed to, we put ampersands at whatever point we want to line up. So typically you'll have it say and equals in every line. And what that does is now we have each of these sides lined up on the equal sign, which is what we want. So this is pretty much all that you could simplify in this case. And yeah, another big thing to note with a line is you want slashes at the end of every equation line except the very last one, because if you put slashes here, it's going to get rid of this entire line. Okay, not in 2, I suppose, but if you have more, you're going to have problems from these last 2 backslashes, so just get rid of them and leave it the way that it is here. Again, I said I wanted to note that align versus align star, using just normal align is going to give you these numbers over here. So if you wanted to reference an equation later in a proof with its number accordance, you could leave it as regular align, but typically you're going to want to just have it as align star. And those numbers are gone. Next up, to insert an image I wanted to talk about. So the command here is going to be /include graphics. And to include a graphic, Overleaf needs to know what graphic you want. So you have to insert a graphic using this upload button in the top left. Click that, and you can hit select from your computer. Here I just have some icon I grabbed before this. So we're looking for this arrow in the document, hopefully. And in the curly brackets, the name of it is just icon. So I type that, and it knows that that's what I'm looking for. And we recompile, and there's the arrow. So again, I'm going to do a new page here for point 4. And let's say I didn't know where point 4 was in my code over here. I can double click this side, and it will take me right to where I'm at. So I'm going to do new page here. So that's a good way to get from your PDF view to your code view very quickly. And there is the arrow we were looking for. So now, probably the most interesting part, and difficult for me to figure out a way to apply it to everything, is the errors section. So some types of errors that you will get very commonly is this little warning symbol, and it'll probably say something like badness 10,000 or something along these lines. And what it's telling you is these slashes at the end of the line are giving your code some problem. So formally, this is not the way that you want to break lines at all. And to fix that, you could, instead of doing 2 slashes, you could do /par, which I've been doing a lot in this document, and that will give you a line break. Another option, if you wanted more space in between, is to do 2 slashes and say I want 12 points of space in between. It will give me that amount of space here. Or to make it more noticeable, I could do 30 point, and you'll see there will be a bigger gap here. So that's kind of how that works with the badness errors. Just use notations like 2 slashes and then how big you want the jump to be, or just /par, and it'll look a lot better and give you a lot less of those errors. And then finally we get the dreaded red X symbol, which is a bigger issue. So in this case, I grabbed just a line of code that I had from a homework assignment, and there's a couple types of errors in this code here, one of which being in the first section. So if we look at the box, it says we're missing a curly bracket. So you just kind of have to look, and the more you do it, you will get better at it. Everyone can learn it and get comfortable. It just looks weird at first, so I recommend you guys to keep trying. But in this case, it's right here. We're missing a curly bracket to match up with this one. And if we recompile, paying attention to this part right here, we will have our infinity sign is now up top like it should be, and our equals 1's in the bottom. And then we've got more errors. It looks like there's an undefined control sequence. So looking through in our $ sections, right here I typed not a real command. So that obviously is incorrect. And if you have an issue where you can't figure out the right symbol, again, I recommend either Googling what you're trying to do in LaTeX, or looking in the question document even and just seeing if it's been used somewhere else to copy it from. But here I'm just going to do the real numbers, and there we have x naught in the reals. And then finally, for this last error, we're missing another curly bracket, which in this case I actually have an extra curly bracket. So just getting rid of that will clean it up, and we'll be all set with no more errors. So those are just, 2 in particular examples. It's tough to generalize everything, but the big thing is if you want the warning to go away, look at the end of your lines and see how you are doing it. And with the big X, just try and take it piece by piece and look over a lot of things and see where your error is coming from. So finally, for advice, I just kind of made a quick list of things I wanted to mention to you guys. The first one being, if there's a problem where you don't know what symbol that you need to use is called in LaTeX, there's a couple ways that you can fix this. One of which I've been mentioning a couple times here is going to be to just look in the question. So if there's a question above the box where you're putting your answers in, read through the code side and see if they use that symbol and then just copy it off of there. And if you're less fortunate and it's not present in the question, I would just recommend Googling the word LaTeX with whatever the symbol name is. Or if you don't know the name of the symbol formally, just describe what it looks like, and someone's had the same question, I promise. So that's the gist of that point. I did also want to mention you can double click to see where you are in the code like I had done before. So if I wanted to jump up here to point 5, I could double click here. It'll take me up to right where I was in the code. Or to go back down to where I just was, double click over here and I'm right back to where I just was. Also similarly, if I'm in the code and I want to know where in the PDF it is, if I have my cursor here, you can hit this little arrow. It'll take you right to where it is in the PDF view as well. So going back to where we were, I recommend starting out to recompile as frequently as you can, just so that you don't get caught up with a ton of errors and issues. And as you get more comfortable and familiar with the compiler, slowly reduce to recompiling less frequently to be more efficient, essentially. And I wouldn't be in LA if I wasn't recommending that you guys come to office hours. It's super casual. There's been a couple people that have been using them already, and I highly recommend it. If the times don't work, send me a message. If you can't get in, also send me a message. I promise I'm a friendly person. I like to see you guys because it makes my job a little bit more engaging and fun. And then finally, the biggest thing is network with your peers. So talk to the people around you in your groups. See if there's people you know in the class. A lot of you guys are math majors or minors or software engineering majors, so you'll probably have other classes together. So it's nice to get to know people, especially early on, because it just helps you build a community and make a network inside of FGCU. So that's about all I have, guys. Again, just to reiterate, everybody is capable of doing this. It's super frightening at first. A lot of you probably haven't coded a lot in the past or at all. I know I hadn't when I took foundations, and I was left alone for a lot of this, and it wasn't fun. So I recommend, asking me, asking people around you, doing some Googling, and you guys can definitely figure it out. So that's all I've got for this video. Thanks for checking it out, guys.